Folks, it's been a while since Lil Durk got arrested for the alleged murder for hire in the case of Lil Pab. Obviously, this is Quando Rondo's cousin. I've explained it so many times on this channel, but essentially Lil Durk is facing murder for hire charges for allegedly putting a hit on Quando Rondo as revenge for King Von getting killed after they had a fight. Quando and King Von. King Von tried to jump Quando. Quando's homie Lil Tim jumped out the car, shot King Von dead. And then the whole world, especially 6ix9ine, said, Lil Durk, when are you going to slide for Von? When are you going to get revenge for Von? Well, allegedly he did. And allegedly they ended up killing Quando Rondo's cousin Lil Pab by accident. He was not there when King Von got shot. He ain't have nothing to do with it. He was making a few jokes on Clubhouse. But did he deserve to die? I don't think so. But now Lil Durk is fighting for his life. He's fighting for his freedom, and it's really not looking good for him, if we're honest. But one of the biggest questions that is on everybody's mind is who's telling? Who's the snitch? The government and the state have basically been saying that the entire case is going to be developed and based on snitches. It's going to be based on confidential informants, witnesses that are basically going to break down, and they're going to vouch for the fact that there was $1 million bounty on Quando Rondo. They're going to vouch for the fact that Lil Durk was actually the one who called in this hit. He was given favors, lucrative music opportunities. He was making sure that everybody was straight. All right, May said he would make everybody straight after the attempted hit. And basically, it sounds like it could be a real 50-50 scenario because a lot of the case is dependent on these alleged snitches. But who's snitching? Who's telling? Well, in this video, I'm going to break down a whole bunch of different theories and basically backstories and things that are going on in this situation. And I'm going to try and get to the core. I'm going to try and get to the deep, dark understanding of actually who's telling in this case and basically the potential loose ends that could be leading Lil Durk to lose absolutely everything. So ironically, it might not even be the Lil Pab case that ends up being the complete undoing of Lil Durk, because in January 27, 2022, all right, there was a bunch of court documents that were circulating, and essentially prosecutors said that they're actually looking at a whole different crime that Lil Durk might have been involved in, or at least connected to, regarding a 2022 murder of a guy called Stefon Mack, who was allegedly killed as revenge for Lil Durk's brother D-Thang, who was killed in 2022. So after Durk lost Von, he also ended up losing his brother D-Thang. Now, I do have a lot of sympathy for him, but interestingly enough, okay, in the court documents related to the Stefon Mack murder, in court documents trying to stop Lil Durk from getting his bail, the state would bring up the Stefon Mack murder, and it sounds like there might actually be informants from this case that are gonna bury Lil Durk for his other murder for hire case. So look, I'm just going to read you a little passage from this. It says, specifically, the government's carefully selected narrow pieces of evidence showing that two alleged shooters in the Chicago case discussed payments from OTF and defendant Durk Banks just 2 weeks after the murder of a well-known Chicago gang member, SM or Stefon Mack. The government intends to admit a handful of short text messages showing that one shooter texted the other, "What's up with OTF? What do you mean? They're not paying? Did Durk give you that money?" And DNA and fingerprint evidence linking the shooters to the crime scene. And the government intends to introduce a social media post that one of the alleged shooters posted shortly after this text thread, showing him holding money while a song by Durk was played in the background. And there's a footnote here as well. It says, although laying the foundation to prove these discrete facts would potentially require 3 or 4 witnesses, the government anticipates such testimony would not take up an unnecessarily lengthy amount of time, especially when weighted against the probative value of this evidence. Moreover, this should either of the defendants charged in the Chicago case plead guilty prior to the trial. In this case, the government would likely propose admitting certified, and then a footnote continues, conviction records to establish the shooter's identity, which would significantly streamline the presentation of this evidence. So they're basically saying that Lil Durk, all right, he be getting people to do murder for hire. And they're saying, look, depending on the outcome of that case, we can take witnesses out of that case that would essentially step up and would explain that Durk is out here having murders for hire going on. And they would say if someone takes a guilty plea in that case, it's going to be even easier for us to put that on the boy Durk. Okay, it's just unfortunate. Okay, it's unfortunate. But anyway, you might recognize Stefon Mack, okay, because he is identified allegedly as the leader of the Smashville section of the GDs, who were very close to 051 Melly. And Stefon Mack, I believe, yeah, Stefon Mack was the cousin of 051 Melly, who obviously has a very deep running history when it comes to, you know, Lil Durk. And they say 051 Melly might have killed Lil Durk's cousin. These guys might have had something to do with what happened to Lil Durk's brother. So the murder of Stefon Mack made a lot of sense, all right? As you can see, Stefon Mack from Smashville, Two of his killers got charged with federal murder for hire charges, okay? This is basically allegedly the leader of Smashville, who's very close to Melly. Obviously, it was his cousin, and they were even pictured together in this infamous clip where they were outside.
No, you invite him. Oh, yeah. We got them, bitch.
So that's Stefon Mack with Melly, his cousin, okay? And that Melly is a notorious gangster from Chicago. You've been known about him if you followed my channels, okay? But interestingly enough, okay, I don't want to get in too much trouble here, but security footage of the hit basically captured two members of the set, all right, basically carrying out this targeted shooting. So this is the CCTV footage, and just for the record, you're not going to see the murder take place. You're just going to see the victim run away. You're going to see the shooters run after them. But this is damning stuff, and this is definitely not the kind of thing that you want to be having pulled out on you in the courtroom when you're facing numerous murder for hire charges. So, you know, it's a cold and snowy day in Chicago. This apparently was some kind of like youth center. You know, Stefon Mack steps out of the venue. Soon realizes there's some people that are going to go running after him, and basically he runs out of frame. They run after him with weapons drawn. And, you know, this did go down. This was murder. I believe that the security of the venue that they stepped out of even got shot at as well. So this was a very brazen and very reckless shooting in broad daylight, as you can see as well. And you can see the assailants running down the street, and it's been pretty deeply covered who was responsible for this as far as the members and the gangsters in Chicago, okay? Yeah, they shiestied up, but it wasn't too hard for the feds to work it out. Interestingly enough, unreleased footage covered by the channel Loyalty and Betrayal would allegedly showcase two additional members at the scene, including the rumored leader of the set, Mike City.
Now, when I come back and I play it again, I'm going to zoom in and slow it down.
Okay, now this is still rolling in real time. I've only zoomed in. You can see where the white van is crossing over the lanes of traffic, and they're going to stop short of the first lane and just park it. See how the other car pulled up behind them? And then they proceed, after a few seconds, to open the driver's side door. Like I said, this is real time. He's not in any hurry. It appears that he's on his cell phone on speaker as well, looking up and down at the cell phone. Gets back in the vehicle, puts it in drive, turns the wheels, and proceeds on. Now, on this first time, we're going to concentrate on the leader of Mike City. We're going to follow him as he comes back down. You will see him lower his face mask while he's talking on his cell phone.
Big mistake. Big mistake.
And like I stated earlier, AJ's phone's ringing about this time from Marley calling him. Now we're going to concentrate on little Fred coming around. So we're going to let the leader from Mike City just go ahead and bypass us and wait for little Fred to come through. And when he gets close to the stolen vehicle, we will zoom in. And I'm also going to slow it down so we can try to see what it is that he's doing. Is he getting a clip out of the car or what? We don't know. I couldn't tell. Now you're here, I've zoomed in and slowed it down. He's reaching in and getting something. He's gonna slide it in his pocket. He leaves the door open. And by the way, see Hood, I finally saw Marley taking off with the gun. Now here, I've slowed it back down again so you can see him pulling the gun out, and he's going to hold it upwards.
So look, we're seeing all these different people. They're saying the leader of Mike City was there. They're saying that cars are pulling over. They're on the phone. They're all on the phone while this murder's taking place, which is very brazen. Now, I say all that to say that allegedly the confidential witness in this case is allegedly the leader of Mike City. It says Mike City snitch on Lil Durk's case, named to the face. According to FBI confidential human source 1, Mike City is a faction of the Black Disciples that controls territory in the area of South 85th Street to South 87th Street, from Carpenter Street to Sangamon Street in the south side of Chicago. It says Durk Banks is a famous rapper from the south side of Chicago. According to that witness, conversations with CPD gang officers who are familiar with the BDs, social media posts, and public source research, and a review of Durk's lyrics. Durk is a member of the Lamron faction of the BDs, and according to CPD records, Durk's brother Deontay Banks, aka D-Thang, was shot and killed, Deontay Banks, outside of a nightclub in Harvey, Illinois in June 2021. The confidential witness, the human source, reported Lil Durk was and still is offering money for people to kill those responsible for D-Thang's murder, more specifically offering to pay money for any gangster disciple or GD that's killed. That confidential witness indicated D-Thang was killed by members of Dump Street, and the witness basically said Dump Street is a GD faction from the south side of Chicago. According to the witness, Dump Street member individual A was a close associate of Mack, and according to law enforcement records, individual A is in pretrial custody for having committed a double murder that took place in Country Club Hills, Illinois. Very, very interesting, okay? And basically, there's a whole lot. It says, according to that witness, the leader of Mike City, circled in red below, has ties to rapper Lil Durk, who's been in rap videos with Lil Durk. Wait. Mike City. According to the leader of Mike City, someone circled in red. But that is Durk circled in red. This kind of doesn't make sense. According to the leader of Mike City, someone circled in red below has ties to rappers Lil Durk. Maybe they're redacted. Maybe it says to the left of the person circled in red, or this person. That kind of doesn't make sense. Why are they? That's Durk that's circled in red. Well, I guess like it's not hard for you to go and pull up this music video, right? They're blanking out his face, but it's like, okay, we can see who that is right here. But this says, in Exhibit 1, Document 12 of the federal indictment on Lil Durk for his current case, but is evidence to do with Stefon Mack. There's a dude who is a federal confidential human source, which is a rat, and he's stay behind, referred to as CHS1. CHS1 is telling the FBI Durk is offering money for D-Thang's killers, stated the killers were Dump Street and any GD's head. This dude is in the Aha music video, but they blurred his face out in the indictment, but I just got an image of him from the music video. It said Durk would have gave him anything and they want to snitch. All right. It says, let me know if I'm late to this info. Thanks for sharing the docs. It says the guy in red is circled is the leader of Mike City. CHS1 doesn't necessarily have to be someone from Mike City. It could be anyone who has knowledge on who runs it. It says punctuation is everything. CHS1, the leader of Mike City, blank, circled in red below, which means CHS1, who is the leader of Mike City, is saying that blank is circled in red below. Not saying it wrong. I just read it differently. He's about to have that video on Durk saying that's in a text a good lawyer would kill that easy. Punctuation is everything. CHS1, the leader of Mike City, blank, circled in red below. I mean, CHS1. That doesn't make sense, though, because Durk's the one circled in red. But is it a comma? According to CHS1, the leader of Mike City, circled in red below. That doesn't make any sense. But anyway, okay, there clearly is somebody from Mike City that's telling on Durk. All right, that's what we know. Now, interestingly enough, the other person in that CCTV footage alongside the alleged Mike City leader that was identified as having ties to Lil Durk is apparently, they're saying this is Lil Fred from Circon City GDs in Lil Durk's Aha music video. Fred was charged with the murder of Big Loke from Pockettown, who was killed by 3 shooters in the Pockettown area from 2022. Later on, the murder charge against Fred was dropped. All right, so this is basically talking about the account, talking about the hit. It says, no surprise, most loved fallen Lamron member is Lil Mo, and he was from Circon City too. It says it's like a lot of Lamron members have a second block. We're from an original set. On the street side, you beat your body, shit like the Grammys. So what's the info now? A gun. They said no, he was sentenced to 15 years for the bodies, 18 months for fleeing the scene. He had a police tracking device on for a while. They was killing dude. That's crazy. So essentially, okay, I'm not saying he's telling, but apparently he is in that footage, okay? Apparently he is alongside these Mike City members, and they're all tied in to having connections to Durk, and, you know, it basically, it's hot for everybody. Anybody that was in this music video, it's hot, and the feds are trying to put the screws on you. That's what's going on. Okay, that is the unfortunate circumstances of this case. So all of this brings us to possibly the most speculated on name in this whole situation, and that is, of course, OTF Jam. So OTF Jam is probably the person that people have brought up and accused of being the snitch in this case more than anybody really. And he was released from prison at the start of 2022 after serving 12 years for an attempted murder charge. And basically this got brought up in a DJ UTV interview with Boonie Mo, where he would kind of touch on the history of OTF Jam and, you know, all the different things that have been going on behind the scenes with OTF.
Know him because just the rap was like what we really got going on. Like, no, I really know him because just the rap and y'all from the rap. So y'all see what we really got going on in the growth. Like that's all we saying. Pay attention to that, you know? Yeah. But for sure, that's where I'm from though. I grew up right there, you know, we grew up together. That's my brother. Yeah. I just came home from doing 10. Bro just did 13. So, you know, like we missed a lot of years. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, so it's like
no rational,
no nothing, but we just doing what we supposed to do the right way, bro. You know, stand on the business out here. For the
So look, a lot of people have defended Jam. You know, they've said he did what he was supposed to do. He did his time. He did what he was meant to do. Okay, but obviously, what is interesting, okay, is basically when the Lil Pab hit went down. All right, later paperwork would come out that there was a confidential witness. Now, this is confidential witness 1. Okay, this is information and good news for Durk. But okay. Now we're hearing there's as many as 5 or even more confidential witnesses, all right? But apparently, confidential witness 1 was the first person to give information on multiple bounties being placed by Lil Durk, including the one that actually led to the murder of Lil Pab. But apparently, this person wasn't personally involved in the hit. And there's been a lot of speculation as to whether one of the shooters was actually, you know, on the hit, whether one of the shooters was actually on the hit and then, you know, turned witness or maybe helped orchestrate it and then told the feds. But basically, this CW1 has been kind of like a big question mark for a lot of people. So here is the breakdown. It says, good news for Durk. They won't be using any of the evidence seized from his X account and iCloud account, but they can use other accounts as they don't belong to him. Now on to confidential witness 1, which is basically stating that they knew Lil Durk allegedly placed multiple monetary bounties on who Durk was beefing. That included Duke, Richo, and more, totaling up to 6 potential hits. Also, confidential witness 1 has stated that he has an account of Lil Durk's alleged involvement in Lil Pab's murder, which is significant evidence to them, so the snitch matters to their prosecution. He also was a little help in getting them probable cause to search Durk's account in the first place due to cooperation. CW1 also provided a range of information on shootings and other violent crimes committed by OTF members. To end with, CW1 also stated he had information that Lil Durk placed the bounty on Quando Rondo's life that led to the murder of Lil Pab. All of CW1 info is lined with red below CW1's name in photos. RIP Bezu will always be remembered. Free Durk. Okay, so this basically says the government reviewed the evidence it sees from the bank's X and iCloud accounts, determined it will not seek to admit them in its case in chief any such evidence. Interestingly enough, okay, I had the theory that people were saying this is a win, they're not going to use it, they didn't find anything. I don't think they found anything useful that they want to use in his X and iCloud accounts, but I do think possible messages that he sent to other people who want to submit their own iCloud accounts, confidential witness 1 to 5 perhaps, they might show their iCloud. We don't need Durk's iCloud account if we got that from other people. And now here, as you can see, this is where the confidential witness kind of mentions a few different things, all right? Where they're mentioned in the paperwork. It says, following the murder of King Von, it wasn't actually murder, the affidavit disclosed that confidential witness 1 knew that Durk placed monetary bounties on the murder of people with whom he was feuding, including 6 other individuals. So that's 7 people. Confidential witness is basically saying Durk put bounties on 7 people total. They basically corroborated, there's significant evidence that corroborates confidential witness 1's accounts of Durk's involvement in Savia Robinson's murder, specifically bank and flight records, and an associate of Durk Banks coordinated and paid for 5 of the co-conspirators to fly to and from Southern California using a credit card linked to Banks and OTF. And then there's a redacted section here. Oh, my bad. I want you people to understand, when they're saying CW1, all right, is giving all of this information, they're saying there's evidence that corroborates CW1. If CW1 basically says, look, Durk said that he was going to line us all up to go out there and do the murder, and then it's paid for on Durk's credit card. A lot of people said, oh, him booking the credit card and him saying don't put nothing on no names related to me, that is all well and good, but when you got a witness that's basically saying, yeah, I was involved in this shit, and yeah, that's what happened, and then the credit card receipt says the exact same thing, now you got a problem. Now you got multiple bases of evidence coming at you. Now, I wonder what's redacted here. I think this is probably something very explosive. This probably is something that would identify who CW1 is, if I'm completely honest. And it says, just like the funding for the hitman's flights, records also showed that Durk's credit card was used to purchase the hitman's hotel room the night before the murder. Again, I can't impress this upon you enough. I'm not hating on Durk. I'm not wishing on his downfall. But at the end of the day, everybody said, how could he have been involved in this? He was in Los Angeles at the time of the murder. They're talking about his credit card was used to purchase the hitman's hotel room from the night before the murder. That's a smoking gun. Okay, I'm sorry. We love Durk's music. Some people want him to be free. I don't want him to be locked up, but I do want justice, because I do feel like you can't just be out here killing people, having people hit, and it's like, oh, whoops, you know, we didn't hit the person we were supposed to hit. Let's just slide. No, that's not cool. And so this says, to establish probable cause to search for evidence related to the violation of the RICO and VICA statutes, the affidavit contains information about OTF structure and the history of violence. Specifically, based on the FBI special agent's review of law enforcement reports, conversation with other law enforcement agents, and conversations with confidential witness 1, the affidavit states that in addition to OTF being a rap collective, it's also an association of in fact, of individuals who engage in violence, including murder and assault, at the direction of defendant banks to maintain their status in OTF. The affidavit stated that confidential witness 1 provided information about shootings and other overt actions that OTF members took to commit violence on behalf of OTF. Now, this is a bad look now. This is the Lil Durk family over everything cover art, all right? And these aren't necessarily the people that are getting brought into this case, but he positioned and portrayed OTF as a criminal organization. This is 2019. This is for clout. You wanted people to think you are armed and dangerous. Do not approach. Years active unknown. Status active. Family size 100 made men. I know this is a joke. And I know this is the United States of America versus Lil Durk and OTF. I know this is a joke, and this isn't me trying to dunk on Lil Durk or disrespect anybody, but careful what you wish for. You know, you can manifest good things in life and you can manifest bad things in life. And no doubt that while this was being put out there as a cover art in an office somewhere in America, there was an FBI office creating a literal suspect board just like this with the real people involved. And Lil Durk, he put himself at the top as the boss, circled himself, and now we're seeing him circled inside real life paperwork. All right, so this was a bad look. And so not just confidential witness 1, but other people and the FBI special agents' research of reports, other law enforcement agents, basically all of the investigations into OTF, everything that's gone down, you know, Durk and Vonnie allegedly shooting somebody outside the varsity with Bezu and, you know, the other guy that was there. It's all going to contribute to a picture of Durk being the leader of OTF, you know, just like this. And again, it's like, oh, it's just art. Yeah, it's just art, but like you got to think, like your creativity is one thing, but it's like you got to think about how this looks. This is crazy. This is crazy. You put this out. This is insane. So obviously, confidential witness 1 gets referenced even more in this, okay? It says each warrant was supported by a substantially similar 35-page sworn affidavit from an FBI special agent. The affidavit detailed the investigators' years of training, basically saying that, look, they have an understanding, and they, along with confidential witness 1, can say with pretty strong confidence that Lil Durk is the leader of OTF, and OTF's members are doing dirt on behalf of him. It's unfortunate. It's what it is. So basically it says the Chicago-based hitman traveled to LA to murder one of the rivals. They're saying that Durk ordered the murder plot, and among the evidence referenced is information provided by, and this will likely say background information about CW1. It might say provided by one of, this is just my guess and speculation. It might say provided by one of the leading members of OTF, who was a serious senior person in the organization who communicated hits from Lil Durk. And this, you know what I'm saying? Information provided by, they've redacted it because they don't want to identify who it is at this stage, but it will be somebody with a whole lot of position and rank in OTF, and it's really bad news that this is getting out there. Now, this is based on information from Confidential 1 and open source reporting. The affidavit explains that defendant banks placed a bounty on TB's life. Now, as I stated in the previous video, they're now saying that there was $1 million bounty. And this is what it is. CW1 is going to corroborate and say, yes, there was $1 million bounty on his head. Open source reporting, this is probably going to be, you know, Quando dropping all these songs talking about $1 million hit on his head. Other people talking about we got $1 million on him. We want him to go collect. I'm pretty sure Durk has some lyrics where he hints that he's got bounties on people's heads. You know, money make them hitters pop out that you ain't seen before. And that's literally what ended up happening. So it's a bad look, but we're always trying to find... Okay, we're always trying to find out who these confidential informants are. Okay, so let's move on. Now, when OTF DD filed a motion to sever his case from Durk's, he would state that he's not included in the message groups and he wasn't a part of any plans to attack O Block members, as there was basically some paperwork that said that OTF, under the guidance of Durk, or the leadership of Durk, was basically planning to have people from O Block killed or hurt because they weren't sliding for Von. But interestingly enough, this document would identify prosecutor witness number 1, PW1, as somebody who was privy to that conversation. And some people might think that that's Jam, some people might think that's other people, but this basically says DD's lawyer threw Durk under the bus to try and get separate trials. And essentially, this would say, Mr. Banks, aka Durk, to an alleged bounty for the killing of Stefon Mack. Mr. Wilson, this is DD, is not identified in connection with this incident. He's trying to distance himself, but ironically, this actually might have accidentally given people a bit more rope to try and find out what was going on with this prosecutor witness number 1. So this says the 2023 April text chain in the Monaduke feud. The notice claims a group text between Durk and OTF members, including DD, as well as Antonio Jones, aka Boonie Mo, and PW1, who is still secret at this stage, basically reflected Durk's frustrations that O Block wasn't retaliating for King Von's death. And basically in the thread, Mr. Banks, not Mr. Wilson, declared, "I'm finna pipe it up." And Boonie Mo responded with blood. It's green light emoji. We're getting it together now. No phones. It says the government expects prosecutorial witness number 1 to testify about the purported follow-up plans involving others. Significantly, the government attributes no statement to Mr. Wilson in this exchange. His presence is merely noted as being on the text chain, but there's no claim that he agreed with, endorsed, or acted on Mr. Banks' statement. Now, it's very ironic, and it's a little bit, look, you can't say that he's telling, but it's like, he's kind of saying, the statement's the statement. You got the statement. I'm not denying the statement. I'm just saying I'm not part of it. And then they point out, this next text thread where DD was there along with Boonie Mo as well as Bezu. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. And it shows Durk forwarding an Instagram message he sent to Lamron Richard Ramsey, saying, "I got them hunting for you. You better have 3 ski masks on." Mr. Wilson is not the author of the threatening statement. The fact that they are even pointing it out as a threatening statement is interesting. But it says he's only listed as a participant in the text chain. The notice does not claim that Mr. Wilson commented on, endorsed, or even responded to Mr. Banks' message. Now it says Boonie Mo's audio, basically a voice note, conveyed that Durk instructed people regarding money and sliders, and Mr. Wilson's not identified. But again, it's like, you're kind of caught up in this, okay? You're trying to distance yourself from it, but it's very telling. People saying, this is on purpose, my guy. They have a better chance at beating it if they all fight on their own stuff. It makes it look like everyone acted on their own and not with each other. I don't think they'll get it, though. This is just what I think, okay? Basically, people were wondering who that witness might have been. So, following on from that, that's when things get interesting, because we would end up hearing from Byron Blake, who covered in detail how, following OTF Jam's arrest in May 2023, it seemed like his case completely disappeared from public records, and people are still wondering what he might have to do with this case. And I believe he denied being the snitch. He released a public statement, but a lot of people are still looking at OTF Jam with a side eye.
Now, when you look at the list of people who are actually fighting this case, you don't see OTF Jam. But if you look OTF Jam up, this is what you find. OTF Jam was arrested in the city of Chicago on May 3rd of 2023. If you look it up, you can actually see the records of the arrest. He was arrested for unlawful use of a weapon by a convicted felon, previous conviction. But there's no record of him in Cook County Jail at all. Not a single record. There is no record of him in the Illinois Department of Corrections at all, meaning he's not back on a parole violation and he's not sitting in Cook County Jail. I also went to the federal BOP website. There is no record of him at all being arrested in the BOP. And this is what's suspicious about that. There is no record of any disposition in the case, meaning there's no record of this case being closed. There's no record of any court dates. There is no record of any continuances. There is no record of it at all. So we don't know what happened to this case. At least they want us to not know what happened to this case. But I'm about to tell you what I believe and what I see based on reading this paperwork. In the federal system, they have the ability to file a case but keep it off of the public docket. And they call this overriding interest that outweigh the public's right to know, the things that they use. And that, they list the reasons for non-public cases. Among those reasons are preventing people from interfering with evidence tampering. It's an ongoing investigation, so they don't want people to know what's going on. Protecting individuals, informants, cooperating witnesses from retaliation of harm, safeguarding sensitive data. So, they'll file a case and the case will exist in the system, but only the lawyers and the courts have access to the docket, can actually see that it exists, look it up, see what's going on in the case. This is because, like I said, they want to protect witnesses. If a person gets indicted federally and they start to cooperate, people know they have a federal case, and all of a sudden people start getting indicted, then it's easy to put together, okay, he got caught, now we all catching cases. It's easy to put that together. And sometimes some of the information will tell you what the situation was that got them charged. So in this case, they are saying that the jury will be instructed to consider with caution the testimony of a person who has charges and has been convicted and given a plea deal for crimes that arise out of the same conduct as the people who are on trial. So
there's still a lot of questions outstanding, all right? People saying it smells like a rat. The lawyers are going to do Jam dirty on the stand like Woody. Okay, a lot of people are still looking suspicious, but it says not only had he not said nothing, he hasn't done anything either. Wild goose chase, ain't no snitch until somebody is convicted. Free smirk. Okay, so I do feel like they're saying Jam is a ghost in the paperwork. He won't be a ghost on the stand. He has to take the stand. I did Fed time 2016 to 2021. In the Feds, you can look at convict's lanyard, go back to the unit or law library and look that person up. Just that fast, you'll find the rat. Jam may not even live through his sentence. If he does, they'll put him in a rat yard. They guaranteed him safety in some way, but guess what? They can't protect him in most facilities. The inmates are also workers for the captains, lieutenants, wardens, and the crazy thing is, other inmates will get on True Links and notify other inmates in other prisons and let them know the rat's on the way. You cannot avoid confrontation, and eventually it will come once sentenced, unless he is in witness protection programs. Jam and Vonnie going to get airlifted from a compound they end up doing time at. So, on to Vonnie. Now, interestingly enough, okay, as in December 2022, okay, there would apparently be an incident that went down, and recently linked footage has now gone down to show that OTF Vonnie was actually arrested 3 months after the murder of Quando Rondo's cousin Lil Pab in a highly suspicious arrest that was related to his license plates, but some people think the way that his demeanor was during this arrest was kind of interesting.
So did you find the registration?
I'm trying to find
Those plates don't come back to that bin, and this bin doesn't come back to anything.
So they're saying those plates on the car don't come back to the VIN number on the car, and this VIN number doesn't come back to anything. You driving a hot car. That's what they're saying. You driving a hot car. You should be driving this whip. This ain't added up. This ain't making sense. And he feeling that pressure.
So I need paperwork. Those plates don't belong in this car.
So what car do they belong to?
I don't know. I can't find the car. I can't run your VIN because it's not coming back to a state. It's not registered. So that's why I need your
So
registration.
how did I get all of this? Like, how did you get all of this?
That's plate stickers. So this does belong to the plate. The plate doesn't belong to the vehicle, is what I'm trying to tell you. You run off of it? Not all of them. Let me see, pop the door open real quick. Whose vehicle is this?
I can get on the phone.
This right here. At the bottom. Was the car recently bought or what? How long have you had the car for?
I just got the car. The car's been in Chicago since the holiday. I came here to check in.
So this was a little bit interesting. Some people thought they're saying this is the day he told, trust me. He dumb as hell. Can't tell who arresting him. They're not sorry, he dumb as can't tell who's arresting him. They're not local Chicago PD dumbass. Saying, wow, this is the guy in charge of Lil Durk. I wouldn't trust him to go Home Depot. It says they played him about going to the station to get some tickets. People saying this is the craziest traffic stop ever. Any lawyers or law enforcement out there, I'd love your take. So they were so clearly following him or tracking the vehicle or both. The fact they said they need him to drive his car back to the station for him and they'll stay behind him to help his baby mum while he gets transported. Like what? And more than 2 traffic tickets require him being cuffed and transported to the station to get an I-bond. The fact he got stopped earlier that day is another huge red flag, as this was part of a larger investigation. The first cop let him go with a warning and was probably tasked with running initial contact to see what he has going on there and what potential pretext they have for a real traffic stop on the books. My guess is the whole thing was a ruse to get Vonnie alone where he feels safe to talk, and I'm guessing the FBI behavioral analysts identified Vonnie as the most likely to cooperate. I bet the feds approached him during his time at the CPD station, and it was the first domino to set everything in motion. Says the whole video was blurred because they're passing the phone back and forth, showing each other pics of him with Durk the whole time, stalling. They knew who he was before they approached him. Pics of him with Durk, that's what they're saying.
The plates, they're different pen.
Plates come back to a different VIN number, but the VIN, I have insurance on this vehicle.
So I'm trying to see that real insurance, okay? 15 minutes in, and they didn't even search the car yet. Yep, the feds must be right across the streets. Okay, the video is blurred because he's a witness. Anytime someone is a witness, they hide their identity. This just exposed him as a rat on the Durk Rico. So yes, something is up. Writing tickets at the police station. Never heard of that. They don't do it here where I'm at. Wow. Everyone's saying he got tricked. What exactly was he supposed to do? Say no thanks? People are saying, oh yeah, he told. A lot of the time, if you're being investigated, they have local PD pull you over. Now finishing that video, that's clearly what this is. It's all BS. And if he was smart, he should have known what was going on. It says how they let him put the car back in drive. What the F? All right. It's crazy. So apparently, all right, Vonnie would basically tell the police that he had been pulled over earlier. All right. And he didn't realize that this was the reason that he was currently being detained. So he would basically talk about being pulled over earlier and basically would, I don't know if playing dumb is the right word of just being dumb, but he was playing it quiet or he must have realized at a certain point, like, yo, like I'm hot right now. I'm being tailed by the feds.
Old car.
No, and relate that message to them too because they're the ones driving.
Definitely,
So
yeah.
the plates don't come back
Because
to
the
it.
car, we can tow the car for that.
Yeah, I understand. I literally got pulled over earlier today. I was on Orleans and, not Orleans, the next one up in between Superior and Orleans. I had kind of like, did like a pump stop at the stop sign. And the guy pulled me over. I was like, I apologize. Thankfully, he didn't write me a ticket, but he did run my license and ran my tag and everything.
Yeah.
He said it wasn't nothing wrong, so I don't.
No, there's just no vehicle that comes, information that comes back on the tag.
I don't know why he didn't say anything earlier. Literally, I got pulled over.
You didn't pay attention to it.
I don't know why I didn't get put. I don't know. Now, jump forward to 2025 with all of this coming out. That's when people start calling Vonnie an informant, okay? And people are basically saying that OTF affiliates themselves are actually calling Vonnie a rat too. This is OTF Nut Nut and Fat Fat calling Vonnie a rat. Vonnie was the cousin of King Von, but when you search his name on the BOP, it says not in custody. And this has been a picture that was put up by an OTF affiliate, and they put a rat, I think that's over Vonnie, basically calling him out. Okay, so this was going around. A lot of people saying if Vonnie telling, case closed for Durk. Okay, between this and the people who got caught for the Dump Street cases, there's too many dudes involved for some stuff not to go sideways for Durk. And that lifestyle he had them OTF dudes living is either gone, make them stay solid out of loyalty, or flip because they were spoiled and can't stomach the huge downgrade to a cell. People saying the whole time it was Vonnie. Jam needs an apology. They're saying Jam was the original snitch, but Vonnie got flipped recently if he is snitching. They're saying word, it said one of the shooters is informing. If I was Durk, I would take a 20, 30-year plea offer. There's no way of beating this if the organizer, one of the shooters, and the LA native who dropped the address are all snitching. Snake, shake my head. The Lee Street dude in OTF snitched. Don't know why they was expecting him to be a stand-up dude. They're saying real shit. His ass just a manager. I always thought it was crazy as hell. When I went to his page, every picture he's covering his face. Dude might as well not post. They be the first ones to rat. Vonnie also stole from Von, but I didn't know they were cousins. Anyway, when we get to September of 2025, that's when motions begin being filed jointly by the defense, but OTF Vonnie and another co-defendant were notably missing from the filing. So people started to notice, they say, why isn't he included? The government are in agreement with DD, Boogie, and Brown Eyes, who are asking for the trial to be pushed back to January 2026. So this was back in September. Durk does not agree with it, but there's no mention of Flocker and Vonnie, as they have not been arraigned on the second superseding indictment. If they're not being arraigned on that second superseding indictment, they might not be part of it. They might have found a way to stay out of it. And all of this speculation continued to go into November of 2025. It says Vonnie and Flocka are still co-defendants. However, they have nothing to do with the recent motions. Durk, Dee Dee, Boogie, and Brown Eyes are the ones going back and forth with the government. I will not speculate anything, though. Right? People have been saying Durk, Boogie, Dee Dee, Brown Eyes object to the closed-door status of conference. And people saying, is Vonnie no longer a defendant? They're saying they're still defendants, but they ain't got nothing in these motions. Doesn't mean nothing. Brown Eye's also not listed, but still actively on these motions with the other. They're still in custody, just held by marshals. I personally know for a fact where Vonnie was located at as of April. Whether he's still there, I don't know. Now, interestingly enough, okay, this is when we started hearing pretty wild allegations from OTF Vonnie's father, who publicly claimed that his son had turned witness, and it was basically revealed that Vonnie had actually retained a separate legal counsel from the rest of the defendants, and the YouTube channel Street Certified News would discuss this online.
But then he also said his son was going to become an informant, so now when we don't see him at court, it's like, oh, you know what I'm saying? It's like some of the shit he said is starting to come true a little bit. The other issue is a lot of people were saying that Durk, he was only paying for his lawyer and Dee Dee lawyer. And yesterday when they all appeared, we could see that wasn't true. They all got paid lawyers. So if Durk is paying for everybody lawyers or however they OTF or however is everybody lawyers getting paid for, where Vonnie let? It's like, are they not paying for Vonnie lawyer? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, Dee Dee tried to get his case cut away from everybody else's, but he still showed up to court with everybody, even though he tried to get his case severed. So it's like if Vonnie was trying to get his case severed, and he most likely would be having an attorney the same way how everybody else got an attorney, you would think he'll be there. You know what I'm saying? So what it kind of says is that his case could be severed because he's not there, and he got separate legal counsel. You see what I'm saying? Like he got separate attorneys.
That's true shit.
You know what I mean? Now I know.
So look, being separate from the trial doesn't necessarily mean anything, but now you're talking about having separate attorneys. That might be a little bit meh, as Future would say. But two of the co-defendants do still remain missing from all recent joint filings, and this has led to even more speculation. Okay, it's saying Durk's out of the shoe after the status hearing regarding his extended shoe detention was cancelled. A hearing should still happen regarding the motion to sever and the motions in Lamine. They're saying, for months, I've never cared about the whole snitch allegations and rumors, but I have to admit, it's a bit odd that Vonnie isn't separated from the case, but has disappeared from all court paperwork and appearances. I don't know. And then Durk All Day, who is basically tracking this whole case, says, look, I try also to not participate in the speculation, but indeed, Dee Dee filed some motions, Boogie filed some motions, Brown Eye filed some motions, Durk filed crazy motions. Vonnie and Flocka ain't filing no motion. Ain't they filing no motion? That's not exactly... I don't know. There's so many coincidences that can occur before it does start to look suspicious and weird. We will see. I don't like theories. I like paperwork and facts. So it's still to be seen exactly what Vonnie's situation is in relation to this. But the newest person that people are pointing the finger at, and it pains me to say it, and I'm not saying this is absolutely confirmed by any means, but some people are saying one of the names that's come up already is Boonie Mo. And people are saying things are a little bit suspect with him because in July 2025, OTF Boonie Mo was seen flaunting cash. He was in good spirits, still getting money. This caption says, OTF Boonie Mo still getting money without Lil Durk. So clearly he was still doing good.
Look at me. All this shit hit. This shit still the same. 101. AP's pointless. A couple times. Johnny. This shit still around. Free the biggest voice. Nigga, he made a way for his people. The voice. Free the voice. He made a way for his people.
So he's got the free smirk hat on, all right? He's still getting money now. You're thinking, how's he getting this money? Is he doing some legitimate business? Not sure, okay? But a month after this, he would be arrested. This would be going around, and it would turn out maybe he hadn't really been put in position like he was letting on. It said OTF Boonie Mo was sentenced 7 to 15 years for possession of cocaine with intent to distribute in Nebraska. He was out here trapping state to state. It says less than 10 grams, what the F? This dude got 7 to 15 for a few $100s. People saying that must be a typo. It can't be. It's also because he's been convicted in the past of similar cases. He could have got 50 years if they were that petty. A 50 piece for that work is crazy. People saying Durk was really the one keeping things afloat. They all just went back to doing what they know, and that's committing various crimes. They said that's basically the situation where most of these rappers and their crews, the rapping is the breadwinner. He's holding everyone down. He's also providing the opportunity for them to make good money working with him. Maybe as an artist if they can rap, maybe a writer, maybe security, but he's given his crew the chance to make legal money and support their families until shit hits the fan for whatever reason. Then the main rapper gets jammed up legally. Now the whole crew is screwed. Everybody's back to the hood dealing with street stuff again, and it's only a matter of time before they get caught up or worse. Okay, but now it's a problem. It says Durk, Didi, Vonnie, Boonie Mo, Jam, and Just Blow are all locked up. Doody Low was shot and robbed. Low key might be a rap for OTF. Okay, Nebraska of all places. Wild. They're saying it's his background that probably got him that 7 to 15 years. People saying OTF are done for. Now, in the light of this, okay, some people on Reddit have been suggesting that maybe he, as a result of these charges and the serious time he was facing, he might have ended up becoming a weak link in this case. Now, I'm not saying this is absolutely confirmed, but this has been going around for a few days on different subreddits, and I have been seeing a lot of these posts. This says, I'm not confirming this post, but this is a post that says Boonie Mo is the rat on the Durk case. How you get caught with 2 kilos of coke and the feds eventually pick it up. You're looking at 40 years for trafficking, crossing state lines, but you only get 7 to 15. What did you tell them, Boonie Mo? People saying Boonie Mo would never tell on Durk, stop putting that jacket on people. They're saying how you get caught with 2 keys and they only charge you for 10 grams of coke. So that's what they're saying. This person is saying that he got caught with 2 keys, but he only got charged with the 10, and now he's got to deal with the 7 to 15. It says go watch Loyalty Betrayal's video so you can fan out, see it in his paperwork. He worked out a deal with the feds, and whatever he told them didn't result in no charges, and then eventually the state charged him. It says allegation without evidence, then calling people found out. If this was your theory, fine, but why are you pushing your opinion as facts and arguing unproven information? People are saying, no, you'd just be amazed at what a good lawyer and keeping your mouth shut can do for a case. People are saying, Boonie doing state time, though. Why would he do state time for it if the feds picked him up? This person saying the feds raided him and found it. They took him to the nearest county jail. Where else can they take him? But now they're saying he's in state prison. It says, then he got convicted and sent to prison. You should be able to look up the reason. When you get arrested by the FBI, they don't immediately take you to prison. And this guy's saying, bro, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. OP is saying Boonie got arrested in the state, and after that, the feds picked it up. OP is claiming the Boonie is the rat, and the reason he's only doing 7 to 15 years now. My point is, why the hell would you do state time if the feds picked it up and you snitched? Wouldn't you be in federal witness protection or out already? Why would the feds let you do state time after you snitched? And the OP is saying he had 2 different cases. The feds picked up the case. He worked out a plea deal with them. And the loyalty betrayal video shows Boonie Mo's paperwork. People saying, highly doubt it. Everyone in OTF knows who the rats are since they still claim Boonie. Last I checked, it won't be him. But here's the thing, and people raise a good point. They're saying Boonie was locked up in 2022 when it all went down. Remember his leaked phone jail calls? He was hearing stuff, but he wasn't the one to witness anything. But then people are saying that's Boonie. You're talking about Boonie Mo's a different person. Oh, man, people don't know what they're talking about. It says, I saw the video exposing his case, but I don't believe it. Not going to lie, Boonie lawyer had a motion to throw the whole case, saying they violated his rights, and then right after that they negotiated a good plea deal. Who knows, maybe the state knew they effed up so they gave him less time, but it is weird, I've got to say. And it says you have to have 5 kilos or more of coke in the feds to get a 10 to life sentence. Anything under 5 is a 5 to 40 with no mandatory minimum. Look up the guideline ranges and you will see that I'm right. You should do some research occasionally. It helps form opinions. People are saying, I've heard that rumor and something about a wire too, but I guess we'll see soon. People are saying, no, he really just had a solid lawyer. Read the paperwork before saying all that. These kind of lies can get you hurt for real, all right? They're saying, where'd you get 2 kilos from? He was in for 10 grams. He's eligible for parole in 2028. Shut up, Goofy. Boonie riding and dying with Durk. So just so you don't think I'm just lying off of that, I'm not that I'm lying, but like, look, there's more than one post going around. I've been seeing posts quite a lot, and this one just went up. This is the reason behind the music videos and lyrics being used in Durk's case. And somebody's here saying co-conspirator 5 is Boonie Mo and co-conspirator 2 is Jam. Jam was in multiple videos along with Boonie Mo. This is used to build a connection and show a relevant link between co-conspirators. The feds allege that the co-conspirators were promised and rewarded grills. Amongst other things, Boonie Mo and Didi got grills from Durk after the situation. Co-conspirator 5 is alleged to have contacted co-conspirator 2 and convinced him to travel to LA. Boonie Mo was seen being the one bringing Jam around and getting him in the public light. The feds really put all of the information between the lines. You really got to read the paperwork and decipher that shit. Like they knew what they were doing when they put the paperwork out stating that Durk goes through his trusted lieutenants, which were giving grills. Didi and Boonie Mo were the only ones with grills. Then they said they also recruited the alleged shooters. Didi is alleged to have gotten the out-of-town shooters, and co-conspirator 5 is to have gotten co-conspirator 2. You got to put 2 and 2 together. Now this says the feds did take the date back to 2020 when Von died as the timeline for the plot. I think I read or saw somewhere that Boona and Boonie Mo were both locked up in 2022 when Pab died. They were both arrested for other crimes, but neither is new to jail or jail time. But if Boonie Mo is CC5, he probably won't switch up. Boonie makes sense because he is, maybe that's Vonnie, because that's his Bonnie. Makes sense because he's high ranking and close to Durk. DD, Bonnie. Who's Bonnie? Boonie? Or that could either be Boonie or Vonnie, I don't know. DD and Jam seem to become his enforcers once D-Thang died. I think D-Thang handled all of the street stuff when he was living. And what's really interesting, there's all of this talk about grills were bought. What are we seeing in this? What are we seeing in this video? Boonie Mo flexing a whole bunch of money. We're seeing big boy grills. He's shining. All about the grills. That's not a good look now. Okay, so look. I'm going to wrap it up there. I feel like it's just interesting to follow this case. Everybody's dying to find out who's telling. It might be people completely different from the people covered in this video. This isn't me casting absolute blame on anybody. This is just kind of a little summary and a reaction to just some of the rumors that have been floating around recently. I do really want to see this Durk trial take place. I want him to have a speedy trial. I want him to have a fair trial, and I'm going to be following it with interest. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. If there's other theories you want me to explore, I will look into them. But for now, we're still waiting for an update on the case. And if any new paperwork drops, you know I'll break it down for you guys. But until next time, I'm out.